Hello, my name's Dermot Daly. I am a senior lecturer at Leeds Conservatoire and a lecturer at Leeds Beckett. I am, I guess, an academic, a researcher, a theatre maker of all different stripes. And my journey into theatre making and making performance started when I was 10 or 11. I joined a youth theatre and never really left. I'm hoping to reach anybody who is interested in performance. I'm hoping primarily to reach the 15-year-old version of me, who is somewhere in the country, somewhere in the world maybe, but somewhere in Britain, who doesn't know where to go, who doesn't know what they're capable of, who doesn't necessarily have all of the opportunities that other people might have. It's for the teachers of those students, those young people. It's for the parents and the carers of those young people. And I keep saying young people. Hopefully there's something in the book for everyone. The scarcity of Black British drama trainers it's a pipeline issue. If you look at drama schools now, what you're actually looking at is the industry in 10 years. So if you look at those people who are teaching, what you're looking at is people who were in drama school 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So the scarcity is essentially just seeing that pipeline or lack of pipeline filter to where we are. I think sometimes what is privileged, and the book really pushes into this, what is privileged, especially in drama schools and especially in higher education more broadly, is the ability to have the right bits of paper. So I think that scarcity is partly because of the pipeline and partly because of the opportunities and the machinations of getting to that point not always being fully available. But I think it's also a lack of imagination on the parts of people who are hiring and building training teams of not looking beyond academia. Yeah, I think the canon of work that we work on is something that's received, and this idea of received wisdom. And I want to question that idea of received from who and for what reason. This kind of diversification of the canon and adding more it's not a zero-sum game. I am not for 1 minute advocating that we remove Shakespeare. But I am advocating that if we're teaching Shakespeare, then we need to find somebody else. I would suggest that if we are looking at Carol Churchill, who is an incredible writer, that we also look at Debbie Tucker-Green, who is an incredible writer. But you will more often find Carol Churchill in a drama school canon than you will Debbie Tucker-Green. I think in the book I talk about the idea of if all we ever had was Shakespeare, then if you weren't a white male writer, then you wouldn't see yourself as a writer. And I think that is such a big problem. There is a huge thing around representation. There's a huge thing about seeing yourself represented and seeing your thoughts and your feelings and who you are and where you come from and the people that you hang out with. Ryan Cameron in the book talks about the richness of black stories, and he's talking about black stories in his area of London, but the richness of those black stories that he was seeing every day but wasn't seeing in drama school. And in the canon, in the canon chapter, what I argue for is kind of looking at the room in front of you, especially if you're in drama school, looking at the room in front of you and seeing who is in that room, and then looking at what you're working on and seeing how those two things align or not. I think it's really important that we all learn about as much as we can outside of narrow canons. I worry sometimes that, especially with academia, especially within the canon, there's a case of this is what it is, it has always been this way, therefore it shall always be this way. No one's ever really kind of going, I don't quite know if that Chekhov piece is actually right for this point in time. Or I don't quite know if we should look at that piece of work from the 1930s. Or conversely, maybe we should look at that piece of work from the 1930s and see where the parallels are here. And here temporally, here socially, here with the people who are in the room. Canons and the work that we study and the curriculum that we work around, as I said, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not about having a different cake. It's about slicing it slightly differently. I'd be wary of saying it's the best, because I think there are lots of different ways, lots of different routes in. However, theatre is ephemeral, which is beautiful. Theatre, we can go and see a show tonight, and we can see exactly the same show tomorrow, but we won't. We'll see a different show, because today it was sunny and tomorrow it's raining. Today I'm awake, tomorrow I'm really tired. Tomorrow the understudy's on, but not on the performance that we see tonight. So I think that ephemeral nature of theatre is really useful, because that's what life is, right? Life, you don't get a second chance at life in the same way that you don't necessarily get a second chance at doing a scene. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Let's work out what happens next. I think there's something uniquely British about theatre training. And this book is situated around being black and British. And I don't think, to my knowledge, there isn't another book that looks at black British actor training in the way that this one does. And one of the things that is very uniquely British is theatre. We can talk about Shakespeare all the live long day, but the history of theatre in this country is massive. And the tension between that and the Black American experience is more so screen than it is theatre. So that marks a difference. I think theatre actors often, not always, but often move into film and often move into audio. If you have a solid grounding in thinking on your feet, if you have a solid grounding in projection, if you have a solid grounding in character arcs, if you have a solid grounding in stories and thematic structure, that will carry across any medium. It's a little bit like there are dance teachers that I know who will swear blind that you need to know ballet in order to do everything else. There are dancers that I know who will swear blind that you don't. And both are right and both are wrong. I think offering is what needs to be done as opposed to gatekeeping. The biggest, most obvious difference between Black History Month in the US and Black History Month in the UK is that we get more days. Yay! I have a really troubled relationship with Black History Month as a concept. I have a very troubled relationship with any months or days that celebrate people. I don't need one day a year to celebrate all of the women in my life. I do not need a month to celebrate Pride. I do not need a South Asian History Month. I don't need a Black History Month, because it's all the same. We are humans. That said, I think Black History Month and these celebration days are really important. Thinking socially at the minute, it's really important to kind of have a point where we go, actually, we're going to focus on this. My issue comes is that on November the 1st, are we still going to be talking about Black history? The other issue is, what is Black history? Black history is human history, just with a different colour skin. The reason why Black History Month in the UK annoys me is that we'll talk about Rosa Parks, and people will know who Rosa Parks is, but people won't know, a lot of people won't know who Paul Stevenson is. And that really troubles me. Both of whom started bus boycotts, both of whom challenged the hegemony, both of whom won, essentially. But we look to the US, because if we look to the UK, it becomes a little bit too close. It means that we have to think, we have to be more introspective. Whereas looking over there, we can celebrate all of that, because that's over there. That's not us. And I think that feeds into a lot of the not understanding of the Black British experience. Paul Gilroy talks about roots and roots. Roots are R-O-U-T-E-S and R-O-O-T-S. The roots, O-O-T-S, of blackness, I guess, are shared between our American cousins and ourselves. But the roots, O-U-T-E-S, are very, very different. There weren't slaves in fields in Norfolk, but there were in New Hampshire. Slaves did not build number 10 Downing Street, but they did build the White House. It's tangible to see it over there, and it's not here because what came here was the money. So I think we need to face up to the fact that just because we can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. And Black History Month often sends us looking at the States because it means that we don't have to have that introspection here. We don't have to have the conversations that, quite frankly, will have stopped people putting flags up, will have stopped people thinking that just because you have a different coloured skin that you are not British. It's an absolute fallacy, it's a lie, and it's sold on the fact that we don't talk about these things. And if we don't talk about them, then this kind of misinformation and unthinking attitude will fester. I think it needs to start a conversation. It needs to keep that conversation going. What I'm really looking forward to is people disagreeing with me. And I'm really looking forward to the joy in those conversations and the alchemy in those conversations. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm right. But what I believe is based on what I know. So knowing more will allow me to believe differently or further entrench my beliefs. And I hope that this book allows people to do that. I hope it allows people to have difficult conversations, which are not difficult at all. Let's be really honest with it. You know, the difficult conversations about race are often predicated on what might be lost and what might come up that I might not feel okay with. What's the issue there? It's a conversation. You know, let's not be throwing sticks and stones at each other, please. But let's have a civilized conversation about what is here and why it is here, and then work out where we go. I did not want this book to be a pity party, and I don't think it should be. This book is not about trauma, although trauma is in there because we're humans and all humans suffer trauma. But this book is about hope. This book is about fortitude. This book is about saying, look, you can do it. This is the book that I wanted and I needed when I was 15. Because to hold a book that has 22 authors who are black and British talking about what it means to be black and British in theatre, in the performance industries in this country, some of whom have won Olivier's, some of whom have had West End shows, some of whom have worked internationally, many of whom are just, well, not many, all of them are just brilliant people that I want to hang out with. We're talking about people's lives, we're talking about people who are living, we're talking about the richness that this country can offer. We're talking about the richness that is already here that is being overlooked. We're talking about the richness that might never be cultivated because some people, some black British people, might not see a way through. I am aware that I have a level of privilege to be able to talk to Routledge, to talk to these contributors, to have a book that exists. That is a level of privilege that I'm very, very conscious of. And I'm very conscious that having that privilege means that I have to share it. Because if I don't, then there won't be another person doing this book. And ultimately, this book needs to be out of print in 50 years because everything in it should be pointless. We shouldn't be talking about it. It should just be the thing that is done.